Hey guys, welcome back. So obviously Lexi and I are both in Chicago. We have both moved to Chicago. And in honor of kind of our new energy around the podcast, I mentioned like Lexi and I both agreed on this, our pet peeve around like the interview style podcast, which is actually really funny because we've been doing interview style podcasts. So if we have a guest come on, usually what happens is like I'm interviewing them or bringing their expertise in. And although that's amazing, I actually think it's more interesting for you guys to get like two perspectives on a topic versus like an interview style. And so when we decided that we were going to change that, I was like, I already know the first guest, and Lexi, of course, knew where this was going. I was like, I think we should both talk about our moves to Chicago. So Lexi and I are both in Chicago. Not only are we physically in Chicago right now, we both live in Chicago. We're in my apartment. You're about what, like 3 miles away? 3 miles away. So yeah, we've had both very different experiences with this move. And I just thought it'd be really fun for us to, one, tell you how we got here, kind of, and then two, like talk about our existing experiences and what the fuck's been going on. So Lexi, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
That was such a long intro.
I know, like
so long.
The anticipation.
I know, anticipation. So okay, so Lexi decided to move to Chicago first. So do you want to talk about your decision-making process on how you got to Chicago? Because you were first, I came second. It kind of felt like eventually that I was ahead on things, and then whatever, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But like, how did you decide on Chicago? Like, when did you decide to move?
Yeah, it was kind of a longer decision-making process for me. I signed my lease in August of last year. And at that time...
In St. Louis.
Yeah. Yes. And at that time, I was like, I don't think I'm going to re-sign next year. I don't know where I'm going, but I think next August, I'm going to be leaving.
Yeah.
But I hadn't like fully made that decision. That was like when the wheels started turning of like, I think maybe it's time for me to go. And that still felt scary to me. And then when I fully made the decision was around the new year. I did a woo-woo, like witchy little workshop activity thing where...
Wait, was this the one where they said your boss was toxic?
No.
Or was that something? Oh, that was like last year.
That was like a tarot reading.
Oh, that was a tarot reading.
This was on my own.
Okay.
I wrote down, me and a friend that did this together, but we wrote down on 10 different sheets of paper or little pieces of paper, 10 different like options or goals or things to do in the new year. Mm-hmm. And the 10 days leading up to the new year, you burn one of them.
Do I remember this?
I might not have told you.
I don't think you told me this.
It's like very witchy woo-woo.
I'm learning something new.
But
Lexi's a witch.
You like pick it out of a bag so you don't know which one you're burning. And then on New Year's Eve, you're left with a single goal or option. So it's supposed to like help give you clarity of what you need to focus your intentions and like attention and intentions on in the new year. And so on New Year's Eve, I opened my last little piece of paper and it said, move to a new city.
You did not tell me this.
Yeah. So that was when I was like, okay.
Lexi let a burning activity and a witchcraft determine her entire life this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of them were bigger. Like that's obviously a big life-changing one. But some of them were like, pick up this new hobby or like go to this creative writing class. Like some of them were very small and some of them were really big. Mm-hmm. And that was the one I landed on. So I was like, all right, the universe is telling me that this is right for me to do. So then I had a couple...
Salem, Massachusetts is telling you it's time to move, not fucking not
I was
universe.
Like, okay, well now I have to do it. If I'm being challenged to do it, I'm gonna do it now.
Okay.
So then in like January, February, I got really serious about figuring out where I wanted to go. I visited Chicago a few times the first few months after the new year, and I visited some other places, San Diego, and I really narrowed in on those two. And then as I was visiting, I definitely visited Chicago more, and I kept coming back, and I was like, I can really picture my life here.
Well, it's easier to visit because it's so close.
Yeah, so I was weighing all the pros and cons of like, is it easier to go see my family in Missouri? Is it like the weather and like all of these things? And I decided I think Chicago's the move. And then it was like in the spring I was like, okay, it's Chicago. I'm going to start looking. And I told my apartment that I wasn't going to be re-signing in St. Louis. And then I started the process. So that's how I made my decision.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know about the witchcraft and wizardry that occurred in the beginning of the year. But
I do a lot of witchcraft that you don't know about.
Okay. All right. Here we go. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm curious about your perspective. Again, this is like Lexi might share something where she's like, you were a cunt, and that's fine. Like we'll see where this goes. But I was excited because I had kind of thought maybe I wanted to do the city thing. I don't remember when I really started talking about this more. I think you got me excited about Chicago because I was thinking I would maybe move in a year.
Yes.
So I feel like that was kind of the discussion.
Yeah.
How did I tell you that I was actually moving like now? Like it happened.
I remember.
You remember?
I remember this.
I want to know what you thought because I feel like you're probably like, what the fuck, bitch? You took my thunder. You didn't do the whole burning of the thing. How did we get here?
You didn't.
When did I tell you?
6 months to decide.
When did I tell you?
So I had got back from Chicago. I came to visit for St. Patty's Day, which if anybody knows anything, St. Patty's Day is huge in Chicago.
Okay.
So I came here to visit. And I was like, I am going to make my decision after this visit. And I got back and I was like, it's Chicago. And I called you. I was like, I decided I'm going to do Chicago. And you were like, whoa, you're really going to do it? Like,
was this in text?
No, this was on the phone.
It was? Okay.
And I remember feeling like it seemed like you were surprised that I was actually going to do it. And I wasn't just going to like be talking about it and then chicken out.
Yeah.
And you were like, damn, you're really going to do it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And you're like, okay. And then like a couple weeks later, I think there was a weekend.
Oh, wasn't this? I was like, I didn't tell you right then.
No.
By the way, I am too.
No,
Can you imagine?
Like a couple weeks later, and then there was a weekend, and you called me on Monday morning, and you're like, okay, so I made a really big decision. And I thought it was going to be something about the business. We're pivoting again. We're launching a new offer.
We're launching something new.
And I was like, okay, what is it? And you were like, I'm going to move to Chicago. And I was like, what? Like in a year and a half? Like I know you kind of talked about that. And you're like, no, like in August. And I was like, wait, how did we get here? What? We skipped a few steps. Like walk me back. What
did you think I was ever going to move?
I thought that there was
in like in a year?
Possibility that you would in like a year and a half.
Okay.
I thought August of like next year, like 2026.
Yeah.
Because like, also I was in an apartment. You owned a home. You have a partner. I do not. Like you had a lot more moving parts than I did. And I had also been planning a move and thinking about it for like 8 months at this point. So I thought that like
I would need 8 months to plan my own
or something. But then you were like, no, like in 4 months and 3 months. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Okay, so now you share how you made your decision.
Are you interviewing me?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I'll give context because I want to go back to like when I told Lexi, because I think that was also really hard about this move is I didn't really get to like prep people a lot.
Yeah.
It happened very quickly. So I genuinely don't remember all the details of how we got here. It was very much like a domino effect. What I specifically remember is when Lexi was talking about moving, I was feeling a lot of probably a tiny bit, not in a bad way, like jealousy, like good jealousy, because Lexi is single, so you can go. I know that you're like, there's pros and cons to being in a relationship versus single, which we'll talk about too in this move, but Lexi's single. I was thinking last year that I'd be single for a very long time. So when I was thinking about moving to a new city, it was like, maybe I will move to a new city and that's where I'll find a partner and like settle somewhere else. Cause I was like, we're not gonna be dating in St. Louis. Not like I was like wanting to date. That wasn't like a focus of moving, but there was like this idea of like, I'm not meant to date here in St. Louis because I'm not meant to find my partner here. So like, I was like, I might move in a couple years. I'm going to go do my own thing, be a business owner, travel. Like, I think I had this idea of what I wanted. Then Brendan came into the photo, or the picture, the photo. He came into the photograph. He came into the picture. And I remember a year ago, April, I remember this very specifically because Brendan and I had been dating for 1 month and we were headed to our first kind of weekend away together. We went to this like little farm thing. He got this like, I don't know, whatever. But I like mini pigs. He got me a mini pig room. I swear I'm answering your question. I'm just backtracking a lot right now. But I remember I was so frustrated at that time because I just felt like I was like waiting for my life to start. I don't know. I was feeling a lot of heaviness like last year, April, about like my life. And I was just like, what am I doing? And like, what's happening? And like at the time, the business, I was like taking it out on the business. We did a lot of shifting last year. And I remember being like, I might want to move to a city in the next 2 years. And Brendan goes, I want to like live on a farm. And I remember being like,
You're like, this isn't gonna work.
I was like, okay, great. But then Brendan and I last summer in August, so about literally 1 year ago, I guess a year plus 2 months, in August for my birthday, we visited New York. And I actually thought Brendan would not like New York. And Brendan was like, oh, I really enjoy New York. We walked on the city and every night he's like, I could do this every day with you. I love this. I love being in a city with you. So it kind of put it back in my mind of like, maybe Brendan and I do. Because at this time I was like, I don't know if we want the same things. But every time Brendan and I would talk about something, I would make an assumption that he wouldn't like something. And then he'd be like, you're just making an assumption about me. Like I really did not do a very good job in the beginning of a relationship of giving him the benefit of the doubt and things, because I kind of put him in this like, he likes hunting, he likes this, so he can't like these things too. Brendan loves walking around the city. He loved the energy of the city. He just also likes to go and sit and tie himself to a tree and hunt deer all day. Like I don't fucking know. Anyway, he's a very multifaceted person. But going back to that, when Brendan and I talked about our next chapter, because I'm a very like direct person, this is what I want, whatever. I don't take a lot of time on stuff. I like make things happen very quickly. Brendan and I talked about like kind of moving in together of like, if we wanted to do that, do we do it in St. Louis together? Do we do it in a new city together? Whatever. So we were kind of talking about that. And yeah, I don't know. I think when Lexi started talking about moving more specifically, we were at our retreat in April. You were deciding between maybe California and Chicago. And I think by that time, I felt like I knew I would want to move to Chicago specifically. But I think at that time, I was pretty confident it would still be like a year. And then it kind of became really crazy because I had met with my real estate agent about something not related to moving, about a charity thing. We were talking and I said, hey, if I moved in a year, what do I need to do to be prepping? I also knew that I would maybe move in a year or two. So I started getting things done in my house because I was like, oh, let's just do this year because then I'll be ready for next year. Like I had to go into a garage. I got like a window done, like all this stuff. I was already in progress of that. My agent was like, you sure you don't want to move in the fall? And I was like, the fall? That's so quick. But I remember she's like, if you want to move by any means, if you decide to get excited and you want to move in the fall, again, I'm thinking like next year, spring. She's now talking about fall. So kind of placed it in 2025 for me. And then I made a comment to Brendan about like, by the way, if we get, because I was just anxious and I was excited about your timeline. So I was like, if we want to do the fall. And then my agent ended up being like, by the way, a lot of people would be interested in your house. Brendan went to his boss and said, hey, like, I think Ashley wants to move to Chicago next year. And then his boss is like, well, too bad you don't want to move this summer because we have an opportunity, or in the fall. And my agent had just said fall, and it just kind of then made the fall the timeline. But then my agent then got the house ready, or like I got the house ready. The agent wanted to bring someone. They wanted to move in the fall, but then the house sold earlier. And then we needed to find a place. So then we chose August because I found the exact place. And I was like, that's fine. We'll move in August. I'll sell my house in October. So just everything just kind of kept moving things up, or then it became August. Was basically the timeline. I just kind of like let it happen, which is not usually my like MO. But yeah, that's kind of how we got there. But I'm curious, when I was like, hey, I'm moving in August, like how did you feel?
I think
your honest answer.
My honesty, you're gonna hear it here. I think at first I was really taken aback. Like I was like confused, and I was like, wait, this was like a big decision I just made. Like this was my thing that I was like uprooting my life, and I was like gonna do this for like myself, and and then my first thought was like, okay, so this is gonna kind of turn into something that we're doing together, but then like I'm also doing it alone and you're doing it with a partner, so things look different. And I was like, okay, now everything's like kind of on the same timeline, because my lease in St. Louis was up September 1st, so I would be moving in August. So I think, at first I was taken aback, and I was like, my thunder's being stolen a little bit. But then I think as things progressed, it became more exciting, and like this is an opportunity for business too, of like, it was going to complicate things if we lived in different cities. And we, at first, whenever I was going to live in a different city than you, we were like talking about logistics of how we're gonna film the podcast and different things like that, and like we would have figured it out. But also one of the reasons I picked Chicago was that I was like, it will be easier work-wise to like come back to St. Louis and do some things in person.
I would hope that wasn't like the main reason.
It wasn't
I would hope that would be like the cherry on top of the situation.
That was one of the many things on the pro list for Chicago was like, work will be easier.
Because I do want a disclaimer. I had a lot of people, I don't know if I ever told you, a lot of people are like, oh, that's so sucky, you have to get a new assistant. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, that's gonna be so hard. And I was like, no. And I'm saying this, Lexi knows this. I always wanted you to work wherever you wanted. Like, obviously, if you were like in Peru, probably, I don't know what the time zone is there. I don't know. That's like the first thought I had is like Peru.
I'd go to Peru.
Sounds great. But like, I wanted it to be realistic, but I also always wanted you to live where you want it. It was very convenient we were in St. Louis. I never thought we'd be in Chicago at the exact same time. Would we even ever? Because I don't know if I ever thought I would actually do it, which I'll talk about in another second as well. Of like, I pretty much through July was like, this isn't actually happening. But whereas you were like, this is happening. We're doing it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it might just not happen. But I always wanted you to like move where you want it. I was excited about Chicago and selfishly I wanted you to choose Chicago. But I'm really glad you chose Chicago because I think Chicago's really a choice for you. I'm really happy that you chose Chicago. Cherry on top for me is that I'm very selfishly very close to you, and for work it's nice. But like, if you didn't choose Chicago, I would have been sad. I would have been happy.
Funny you say that because a lot of people in my life too were like, "Oh, you're moving. How's this going to affect work?" And my response was always, one, like, we'll figure it out, and two, one of the reasons, like when you first hired me, I was like so depressed in my corporate job because I didn't have any flexibility in my personal life.
Right.
And one of the like greatest gifts you gave to me with this job was that you were like, I want you to be able to do whatever you want in your personal life. I want you to be able to work from wherever. I want you to be able to like take vacations when you want to. That was like always the whole thing was that you wanted to support me in wherever my life took me, whether that was living in a different city or staying in St. Louis. Like we would figure out what that looked like when that shift occurred.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because like, I am not surprised that you're like, you stole my thunder. Because I very specifically remember when I was 18, I was going to go to Missouri State and when one of my friends was going to go to Loyola, Lauren was going to go to Mizzou. I don't know if you knew that. My other friend was going to go to Arkansas. Sydney was going to go to Loyola. Lauren was going to go to Mizzou. And then someone was going to go, Haley was going to go to Arkansas. In 1 week, Lauren decided to go to Missouri State, Sydney decided to go to Missouri State, and Haley decided. And I was like,
and you're like, this is my thing.
I was, because I actually wanted to go to college alone. I was kind of like looking for a fresh start. And that's what was really interesting is I immediately, probably like they did, defaulted to like, I'm excited. But I was like, I bet a little bit of you were like, I get to go do my own thing. Like, this is my like, it's exciting because there's like the duality of like, you're excited that like your friend's gonna be close and also like, this was like my thing. That was not the intention. I did not move because Lexi was moving, so I always wanted to steal her thunder. It really, like, my timeline came up. And I think that I felt heaviness because you were gonna kind of do it almost like set up shop for me, like in a weird way, weird way. I was like, Lexi's gonna get there, she's gonna get rooted. I might move, because I even thought I would move in October. Like August genuinely became, because I found the apartment and it was ready in August. And with Chicago apartments, I'm sure it's like this everywhere that are expensive cities, every week you wait, they add like $500 per month to your lease. So it was like, let's just say, I wish, my apartment was $2,000 a month. It was like $2,500 the next week, $3,000. It was like insane. So I was like, well, we can't do that. So my thought was, well, I'll just move a little bit earlier in September and then I'll just pay for August because it locks us in at a lower rate. And then when my house sold and then Brendan had to be here in August, it moved up. So I kind of felt like we weren't totally, it was like a little bit different.
Yeah.
But then it really became the exact same timeline. And so we're both navigating business, we're navigating a move, we're navigating telling very close people in our lives that we're leaving. Yours, I think, were a little bit more prepped, maybe a little. Mine were not at all, which was really hard. And then just like telling our families and just, the summer was like kind of a blur, I feel like. You are very good about like living your life, so you actually did live your life a little bit summer. I feel like I just sat in my house and sold things and cried. I don't know. It was just kind of a crazy thing, but I was curious if like how you felt in that moment of like the craziness on that. So when did you like hit the panic mode of the move? Did you ever, I don't feel like you really did. I feel like it was more just like the apartment hunting for you was like the hardest thing, and then telling your friends was like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything that was really hard? I feel like those were the two heaviest.
I think that's right. And then the actual move itself was a disaster. But
we both had bad moves. We both had very different reasons.
Yeah.
But we both had really like rough moves, which was also like a fucking pain in the ass. When did you tell your friends right away?
So some of my friends knew very early on in the year before I had even decided where. Because I was talking with some of my friends about like helping me weigh the pro and con list of which city to go to.
Yeah.
So some of them knew very early on, and some of them didn't know until after I had decided it's going to be Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for different friendships, it was like harder.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of them, I was like, I know they're going to be really supportive and excited for me, while also like being sad that our friendship's going to look different. And others, I was like more like scared to tell of like, I don't know how they're going to react. So I think it varied a lot from friendship to friendship. That was a really hard part because my main reason for moving, I think, was it felt very additive to my life. Like I know that I'm like leaving behind a community that I love in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And like it's, I think, easy for me to feel like that's subtractive of like, I'm leaving this and this is going to leave a hole. But I think I early on like worked really hard on this mindset of like, I need to have the abundance mindset of this move is supposed to bring more abundance into my life instead of taking away.
Yeah.
So that like gave me some excitement of, yes, it's going to be hard, it's going to be lonely, but I want it to push me out of my comfort zone to build new friendships. It made me really excited to think like some of the people that I haven't met yet, I'm going to meet in Chicago and I'm going to love them a lot. And like, I don't even know it yet. So that helped me be excited about going to a new place, because I think other points in my life, if I would have moved, because I've always thought about moving to a different state and it never felt right until this year. And I think it's because I wasn't as secure in myself and I didn't have the right mindset. It would have felt subtractive and I would have like self-isolated. I would have had a really hard time putting myself in situations to make friends.
Yeah.
But where I am right now, I was like, no, I can do this. I am more sure of myself. I know how to make adult friendships.
Yeah.
I know how to like have that time in. I know what my hobbies are. And so when I was telling all of my people in St. Louis, it was really hard, but I was also like, this also creates a new opportunity for us to see what like this next phase of our friendship looks like, because all of my friendships shifted when I moved to St. Louis.
Yeah.
And now they're all going to shift again when I move to Chicago. So just because it looks different doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It could actually be a really beautiful thing for a lot of those friendships.
Yeah. I feel like, and maybe this is more my perspective on, I feel like I was, again, jealous is not the right word, but like looking back now, I'm very jealous that you kind of had prepped your friendships, because the thing about Lexi and I is we're both not impulsive, but I think I make decisions quicker than you do.
Yeah.
But they're not impulsive. I'm very, very thorough. Like I had thought about Chicago. I had thought about things, like I had processed things. I had even looked at apartments because I was looking for Lexi. Like I was just looking online. Like I looked at myself like, I ever moved there, whatever. Like I am not an impulsive person. Both of us aren't, but you like kind of had like this slow burn into Chicago. I think if you weren't talking to me on a day-to-day basis, and I did have friends because they were so busy this past year, I really hadn't shared my interest in moving as much. I think you and I had talked a little bit because we just did, and it was relevant, but like a lot of my friends that like with kids or whatever, like they were in their own little world. So it probably came very like, what the fuck? Even to you it became what the fuck, and I feel like you had the most exposure to my thought process here. I feel like my friends got like it was almost like a rip of the Band-Aid news, most of them, even my closest friends, whereas I feel like more of your friends were like prepped and thinking like, maybe it won't happen. Like I was like, maybe it won't happen. With me, I think a lot of people were like, what? In fact, there was women and people texting me in August, being like, happy birthday, you want to grab coffee soon? I said, oh, so sorry. I didn't know if I told you I moved to Chicago. Like, I'm not kidding. It was so quick. And I also wanted to keep it kind of under wraps because there was a weird feeling about I'm moving in with my boyfriend, which was a whole thing. But yeah, I feel like that's how I'm looking at it now, of like, you really got to like prep your inner circle for this and just kind of give them the like, here's the final decision. Whereas I like kind of ripped.
You just got up and left. You were just out of there.
And what's also hard about that is too, then people kind of like in their brain are like, oh, Lexi's gonna be prepping to move. I think everyone just assumed like I'd be really available this summer and I'd be like doing my normal things this summer. We were both like so busy this summer. Like moving was so fucking hard. I think for my friends, I think I just kind of put blinders on. I was like, I'm now focused. And I think that caused a lot of tension.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at like my situation right now. Of like, I don't know if I could say I could have handled it differently, because I always like in things, I'm always like, could I have done it differently? It just was the situation. It was really, really fast. It was really, really quick. And one thing that was very different about our moves, like physically, is, and I'm not saying, by the way, any moving is hard. Moving from a 5,000 square foot home to a 1,800 square foot apartment and doing it in 2 months was a fucking clusterfuck. How was actually packing for you? Was it okay?
Yeah, packing was okay. I think
It was not okay for me. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. That was a fucking, that was so fucking hard. It was so hard. So hard.
Yeah, I think, well, also, I've moved a lot more than you in the past. Like, I think I've been in 9 different apartments over the past 10 years. Like,
I've been in 2 homes.
Yeah.
That's it. That is so different. I didn't think about that.
There for a while, I was moving like every single year. Some of them I wanted to be, and some of them I did not.
Yeah.
But I think I've had more practice moving. So
you have.
Also, with those sorts of things don't really stress me out. I started really early, and I had a strategy for like which rooms I was going to do first. So that really wasn't a hard part for me. I think the relationships were harder because I did have a really busy summer, and like I remember one of my friends went like in the middle of the summer. I was so busy and things already shifted, and she was like, it feels like you're already gone.
I heard that too.
And I was like, wow, this sucks, because my last month or two as a St. Louis resident, I'm not able to really pour into my relationships there the way that I would like, because I had travel, I needed to be home packing, like I couldn't go hang out all the time like I had been in the spring. Yeah. So that was, I think, where more of my stress was coming from. Of like, I don't think I really had a like, oh shit moment until it was the week of the move, and I was trying to figure out all of the logistics of like moving truck and all of those things. Yeah.
I think like it's interesting because when I look at like our timeline, like I feel like you had this like burn to there. Everything was like kind of good, and then all of a sudden July, it was like you were trying, because you had to find your place after me.
Yeah, so actually that was the most stressful part, was finding a fucking apartment.
You were like, it was like the heaviest. I feel like mine was like, yours was like uphill, and then once you made the decision, it was like super solid, and then like this. Yeah. Mine was like this, and then all of a sudden it was like this, and then it would go down. It was so, I don't know how to describe it to anyone, because Lexi and I obviously can personally share together like the intimate pieces of the move, but we both had situations with close friends and some of that where like we were getting a lot of feedback of like, you're already gone. And what's really hard about a move is that like I don't know if you feel like this in other areas of life, I really struggle with transition. I want to be in this phase or this phase. The in between, even in business, Lexi sees it. I'm like, I don't want this launch to take more than 2 weeks because I can't be in this transition. I hate transition. And what's really hard about the move is Brendan's transitioning because he's prepping to move. I'm prepping to move. Also, the dog, I mentioned the dog. The dog's at my home because someone needs to watch the dog. So like, it's just because like there's shit everywhere. So I'm handling a dog. I'm handling packing. I have all custom made, very expensive furniture that has to go somewhere. And I made the dumb decision at the beginning to try to sell it. And then later was like, I'm going to consign it. And I should have just consigned all of it because whatever, and just gotten it gone quicker. But guys, selling my home, emotional. I don't even think I really ever cried much about it. I didn't even really get to like process the fact that I wasn't gonna be a homeowner, because that was a big emotional change. Like, and again, this isn't to be like Lexi's was easier, but like you were going from like apartment to apartment. Like your big thing was like, I'm moving to a new state. Mine was like, I'm losing my entire identity as a homeowner. There's a man involved with it. There was a weird identity there that I think I had to process that I couldn't articulate. And I think what was really hard for my friendships is I've kind of always made big transitions really easy. Like when I moved the last time, like I just talked about this in our last episode, I kind of made it seem easy. I had that house, guys, my entire house was furnished, organized, labeled to perfection, custom ordered in 8 weeks. I don't know anyone who could do that, genuinely, except for really rich people. They can just outsource it all. And I didn't even outsource it all. I did it all myself, minus the customization. I guess they did the furniture. But this move, I think people were confused because I was struggling. And I don't know if people have really seen me struggle a lot. And so I think it was confusing. I don't know if you agree with this. Maybe I'm just like diagnosing this wrong. But like, I think I really was having like a lot of emotional heaviness and I couldn't articulate it. So people were very confused because usually I'm very good at hiding that, but it was very much present. And so it was like there was heaviness about me moving on their end. I'm acting weird. I'm struggling. I can't communicate it. I'm needing help, but I can't ask. Like, does that even make sense?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Or am I like wrong on that?
I think so. I feel like you weren't feeling very grounded because you were losing a lot of pieces of your identity that you had felt really secure in before.
Yeah.
And I think that the city that you live in is part of your identity, being a homeowner is part of your identity, like all of these things. And I think that transition felt really like scary and hard for you. And you were like trying to navigate that, but you were also like grieving.
Yeah. In July, you guys, I kept saying, should I just not move? Like by the way, my house was already sold. We had done everything. I had a really good situation when I sold my home. They saw it that night. They bought it that night. Also, my home was sold in an evening. Like it was so
It didn't
off
even go on the market.
Didn't go on the market. We were gonna put it on the market in October. I was gonna move to Chicago and pay 3 months of overlap of an apartment and a house, which was stupid. I don't know why that was my original thought. Also, that would have been really painful to like keep my house staged while moving. I don't know why I thought that. It worked out better, but like everything happened so quickly. So then I was like, my house is sold. My house is gone. Brendan and I are trying to do this together. And oh my God, I feel like I just was like inundated, and packing was a lot. I have a lot of stuff, keeping it staged while then getting rid of the stage. Like it was kind of like I never felt like I was ever in one stage in the move. It was kind of like one chapter was closing and one was ending. I think that's just moving though.
Doing everything at once. I feel like this really highlights a lot of our differences because like your loss of identity made you freak out. And I was just thinking like my loss of identity in that time felt very freeing to me. I think that like a lot of my 20s, I felt like I was running out of time. Like I was constantly grieving all of the different lives I wasn't going to be able to live. I was constantly thinking, should I move to this place? Should I move to a different country? Should I do this career path? Should I do this? Should I do this? And I was so anxious about like, I'm not going to be able to live all of these lives, and always feeling like it was too late to start something new. And
You're more adventurous than me though, so that makes sense. I'm not very adventurous, so.
One of the like biggest realizations that I had over the past couple years when I became more secure in who I was like, oh my gosh, I do have time. Life is short, but it's also really long. And like, it doesn't end when you leave your 20s. So I think there was this like weight lifted from my shoulders and like the anxiety left my body of like, no, I can pick up and start over in a new city at age 30. Yeah. And like that felt so freeing of my life is going to look completely different. I can have new hobbies. I can have new friendships. I can have a new city. I can have a new home. And like, I just get to choose that. And I can choose that again in a couple years if I want. Yeah. And also everything is undoable. Like that's like a mantra that's on my head and repeat, because I think I had a lot of anxiety before about like, if I do this thing, then it's going to be that way forever. Yeah. No, I was like, if I get to Chicago and I hate it, I can go back to St. Louis next year. Yeah. Like no one gives a shit. I have autonomy over myself and all of my decisions. And that's so cool. And I didn't realize that for a long time. And now I'm like, I can do whatever I want.
See,
like,
I think we're 100%, but I think what's interesting is because if I was 30, I might have felt like if I was who I was at 30, I might be feeling the way. I think I was thinking I worked so hard to be a homeowner and I was giving that up. I worked so hard to do it by myself. A lot of my identity in my 20s, if you go back through my podcast and really read, all I talk about is that was my money. I did it my own. Now I'm getting an apartment with a boy, which means that I now can't fight. Again, this is all ego. I can't fight the narrative of like, when service people would come to my home, they'd always be like, oh, can we talk to your husband? And it was so good to be like, I don't have a man here, blah, blah. I did this all on my own. Yes, I might have been able to get the apartment on my own, but like, this is Brendan and I's space. So like, this is no longer my space. I can't make decisions. I mean, I can, but like, I can't. Like, I can. He would let me do it. But we had to like decide furniture together. We had to decide, like, he had to agree upon the space. It wasn't like all me. And that made me feel really not
that's a big
safe
transition.
Because I have always done everything on my own. You guys, I did my homes on my own. I did my college. I like paid for the, like, I always felt like it was me, myself, and I. So if I failed myself, then I failed myself, but no one else could fail me. And something about this move was like, I'm giving up. I bought the house. I built this wealth for myself. I built this life for myself. I did it. I'm going to give up the security of home ownership, the security of doing it alone, aka I'm the only person who can fail myself because like I don't make my mortgage payment, or like no one does. Like I didn't rely to like, we're getting this place together in a new city. There's a dog. I talk about the dog a lot. Brendan and I are doing it together. It almost was like I'm giving up my ability to have almost like a free will, which it sounds like I was really negative about this mood. I think I just more had to process it because it was so much at once. I think if Brendan and I had been like living together for 2 years or something and we're married and like we're doing this, it might be different. But like Brendan and I have been together for 1.5 years. At the time we decided to move, it was 1 year. We had been together for a year, which fine, very quick. There was something about that felt really crazy of like, I'm moving in with a guy. We're going to get all new furniture together. We're going to start to combine our lives. We're paying for something together. It was very weird. And I'm wondering when you think about that, because I see pros and cons. Pro is we could do it together. There's a financial combination that's really nice. There's partnership and collaboration that could happen. While also I see the heaviness of that side. And then you had like this, I'm comfortable in your world. I'm comfortable in the single, do it all by myself, even if it's harder because it's all on me and I don't like to ask for help or rely on anyone. Did you have any weirdness about the fact that like it could be easy for me, which is fine because I got to do it like with someone?
I never thought it would be easy. Like I wouldn't use that word, but I think there were moments that I was like, it's really nice to move to a new city with like you have a built-in buddy. You have a built-in buddy, and like you get to explore together, and you get to navigate the emotions of like moving into a new space before it feels like home together, and like making it a home together. So I think there was like maybe a little bit of envy there of like, oh,
envy is a good word. I kept saying jealousy. Envy is a good word.
Yeah.
Because it's not jealousy comes with like a negative. Yeah. Envy's like that's like so
like
nice.
I'm so happy for you that you get to experience those.
I was so envious you got to do it alone. Isn't that funny? I was like, oh, Lexi, because I have a lot of like, you're just so cool that you're like, I'm just going to do this on my own. Like you had bigger balls than I do. Like I wonder if I would have moved by myself. Part of me is like, I think I wish I would have done it by myself before, but then obviously I would not regret how it all is now. But I'm so envious that you had the courage to like do it on your own. It's so funny.
I think it's scary, but there's also a lot, like you're describing, like there's a lot of things that were really nice to do alone. Like I could pack my own way and not have to worry about like how anybody
packing
else
some
wants
man's fishing poles for 8 hours.
Like I don't want to mess with that. And it was nice to be able to be like, oh, I'm gonna procrastinate this room and I'm gonna take care of this room and then I'm gonna like not touch it for 3 days, and like to not have somebody else there. Like there are things like that I'm like, this is really nice to do on my own. And I think also, again, the point of me moving to a new city is like to get to know myself more and learn new things about myself. And I think it's really fun to explore by myself. I've done a lot of solo travel and I think it's taken a long time for me to get to the point of like, I enjoy taking myself to dinner alone. Like that is an uncomfortable thing to do.
I've never done that.
And if you've never done it before, it's fucking scary. Like the first few times I did it, it was like, I'm forcing myself to do this.
I feel like I would do brunch before dinner. Dinner feels super formal.
Do a brunch by yourself. Yeah. And well, I think what forced me to do that was when I was solo traveling. I was like, okay, well, I need to eat.
I would have DoorDashed to my room.
Yeah. That's like, you push yourself and you learn a lot about yourself. You know, they say that like, you're the 3 people, you become the
5.
You become the people closest. That you hang out with, but like the
5.
You become the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Yeah. But like one of those people needs to be you. Like I
no one's ever said that before. That's a good. Yeah,
I just came up with that. I'm very wise.
You are very wise. You are very wise.
But like I think that's important so that you know who you are without other people around.
Yeah.
So like when you go to dinner by yourself or when you move somewhere by yourself, like it's fucking uncomfortable. But it was a way that I'm like really excited to grow. So I think doing that by myself was like both feelings existed, that it was like I like this and I hate this.
I had both. I had the like envy, not jealousy, envy of you of like, oh my God, I'd be more comfortable in your state. It was actually extremely uncomfortable to do that with Brendan. And again, like we weren't married, we weren't like super settled. Like Brendan and I are still learning how to like communicate together, talk through things. We're very new in things. And I think we did really well with certain areas of the move. I think because, to give a little context, Brendan and I were supposed to move in September and we were gonna have all August. We were gonna pack in August, do all that. So a little bit after you, we just were gonna pay for the apartment because we were gonna be here twice. We were gonna like get our keys or whatever the first weekend and then be here for the 18th because my friend was gonna visit Chicago. That was already pre-planned. So I was like, that's great. I was like, we can be down to maybe help you move. Like we had this whole plan. When it moved up to mid-August, I feel like that's when it got really chaotic because I had to shove a month of what I thought we had as finalization time. Also, Brendan was gonna take off a week, so we were gonna do this whole plan. It became like I had to like give up what I needed to do to get the last hump of the last 10% of the move is always the hardest in my opinion. Packing like your glass and whatever. It's the random shit around the house. It's the things that you don't know if you should keep or pack It's the last 10%, and the last 10% was like all we had left when we entered into August, thinking that I was gonna have a month to just tackle that and master the business and enjoy my birthday here. Lexi planned this birthday dinner and we never got to celebrate my birthday. I didn't really celebrate my birthday.
I know you were like, hey, actually I can't make it to my own birthday dinner. Can you cancel that reservation?
Like,
and I was like, okay,
my parents didn't get to like, which again, this is all like silly things, but like when you combine it with 8,000 of these silly things, that's when I think I really, like the end of July to August, and I knew we were gonna move in now the second week of August instead of September. I feel like that's when I kind of like lost my marbles and I couldn't process as much. And I feel like that's unfortunately when you were going through a lot of heaviness because you were finalizing your apartment in those 2 weeks. Do you want to give a little context on that?
Yes, it was really hard for me.
That was the most contrasting part of our move was ease of getting.
I will say that was
probably really hard.
Super jealous of this.
Which
jealous
is
the correct word on this one.
And that's very fair.
Because I felt like things kept falling into place for you.
Yes.
Of like, Brendan got his job switched so easily, and then
first month it looked like this was the gods were putting this in place for me, and Lexi was not feeling that, and that was hard for me too. That was so hard.
You sold your house before it even went on market. The very first person that looked at it, you found the apartment that you wanted to live at, and then like
got approved the next morning
and signed the lease, and like all of these things were like going so well, and I was very happy for you. I was like, that's incredible. And I hope that you felt that support and happiness.
Yes, I did.
And also at the same time, I was like, why do I keep hitting roadblocks every single time I try to do something? I applied for multiple apartments. Everything just kept going wrong. And so I didn't have my apartment secured until 2 weeks before I moved.
It was like end of July, right?
Yeah, and I was freaking the fuck out. And then this apartment too, that I finally did get approved for, the landlord tried to tell me no.
Lexi didn't take no for an answer.
Yeah, he called and he was like, well, for context, I live in a 2-bedroom, and I think he wanted 2 people to move in, and I'm just one person. Okay, so this is another thing that I was like, maybe it would be easier to move
with a partner.
partner.
It would be, yes.
So he was like wanting 2 people to be in there, and I did not take no for an answer. I was like, I'm going to send you this and this and this and this, and he was like, okay, but I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it. And then the next day I called him again, and I was like, you have to give me this apartment. Like, please. I was like begging him on the phone. And then he finally was like, okay, I can't keep saying no to you. Fine. I'll send the lease. If you can pay me this much by midnight, it's yours. And I was like, say less.
Say less.
So I really had to fight hard to find a place.
Yeah.
So I think all of my anxiety and stress was going into apartment hunting.
Yeah.
I was taking a ton of virtual tours. It's really hard to find a space without being able to like see it in person and like get the feel for the neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah.
I was very lucky to have a friend here who was willing to go on those tours for me and FaceTime me in, which was a lifesaver. But that was really hard.
That was hard.
For me.
I think it was hard for both of us for different reasons. Because a lot of my friends, I don't think realize, I got what Lexi experienced getting her apartment as a single woman who does well and whatever. The shitting on, that happened with both my houses. I had situations that I got shit on because I was a young woman with money and buying something nice or getting something nice. I don't know if I expressed that to my friends during that time because no one really cared as much about like me buying a house. Like it was just like, I bought a house and everyone just saw the good of like, you got to buy a house, you lucky bitch. I dealt with a lot of that shit. With this situation, I was confused because it was so easy because with houses, you have to get it approved. They go through like your life like a fine tooth comb. I remember, like, I was like, Lexi, I'm so stressed. And probably even Lexi was annoyed with me. She doesn't have to admit it. Because I was like, I'm so stressed. And she's like, it's going to be fine,
Yeah, it's like, you'll get approved in a few days.
I was panicking. I talked to the guy who gave us our tour. I was like, I'm so nervous. I'm self-employed. Do you guys need me to prove this? We had just switched over to payroll because I knew Lexi was going to move. So we moved over to payroll for her. And it happened to work out in my favor because then I was on payroll at that time and I paid myself more than I probably needed to just because I was like, just in case we look, because I didn't realize that you couldn't get an apartment like 8 months in advance. I've never done this. I bought houses. So like I was a lost puppy in this process. So I was anxious about things that Lexi's like, bitch, you're fine. So I'm probably being annoying about things that Lexi knows are going to be fine. But no, we found this apartment. We applied that night and we got approved the next morning. And I was like, I'm so confused. So my process was like everything. It's funny to like look back now because I'm like, nothing worked. Everything fell into place. Brendan got his job. This was going well. We sold the house immediately. I got full price on my house. Like everything was so smooth. And it was really hard for me not to be like, it was so hard for me in July because I just was like, Lexi pays her, is great with her finances, has money. Like I just was like, it's going to be so easy for Lexi. And when it wasn't, I felt so much like almost guilt. And I'm not to make it about me, but
you feel guilty.
No, because Lexi was so fucking sweet and she never made me feel, but I got paranoid because I'm feeling now, because at this point I was starting to feel stressed about my move because we knew our timeline was moving up. I had everything already figured out. And so I was thinking about how I would feel if I was Lexi, and I was going psycho for Lexi because I felt so bad for you because it is a horrible feeling to do everything right, to have the perfect. It's like having all the you are the perfect candidate. It's almost like when you go out with a guy and you're like, oh my God, this guy should be so lucky. Like I'm everything you just told me he wanted, and then he rejects you. That's how I felt for you. I felt so much guilt because it was so easy for me. I felt a lot of like heaviness because as your like employer, also the financial piece of the approval piece, like I felt very uncomfortable because I'm like, am I not doing enough? It was I remember there was multiple times I'd call you and be like, are you mad at me? Are you that? Because it was really hard. Yeah. But the thing that I will say that Lexi and I are very good at is I do think we communicate very well, and we would sit down and talk about things. And like you were very reassuring, but I wouldn't believe you until you got the apartment because I just felt so bad.
Yeah. I think I was like, here are the things that we can do differently that I think will make it easier for me to get approved and things. So it was really, I was very grateful for you being flexible on like you wrote a letter to the landlord.
I did. I wrote a letter to the landlord. I wrote out all the things, everything that he was like, I'm concerned. I was like, this. I wrote like an employer letter. I helped her with, we fought.
That was really, really helpful. And I was thankful that you were so willing and you were like quick with it. And
I remember you emailed me, you're like, they need this. And I was like, say no more. I stopped what I was doing and I drafted it and I saved it as a PDF and I sent it over in like 8 minutes. And I was like ready to go. Like we were on it. Yeah. I felt there was like an uncomfortability because I've never felt responsible for someone else's success. And we've talked about this in business together is I feel a lot of responsibility for your ability to have the life that you want and the happiness you want. And that was the first time where I was like, wait, I thought I was doing a good job. Like I felt it was a reflection on me and it wasn't. It was just you were navigating what I've navigated in homes, which is you're a single woman. People look at you differently and they're sexist. It sucks. They are. I said this to Lexi. I said, I think you are being discriminated against as a woman and people want to see two people because if there's a man on that lease, even if they were making less money, that would make them feel safer. And it sucks. And I don't think Brendan and I experienced that because you were also working with a landlord, whereas we were working with an apartment building. So they look at it more black and white. Yeah. You had the disadvantage that they were seeing the gray and they could look at you as an individual, whereas all they saw was our numbers. Mm-hmm. And I was very lucky that I overpaid because I can write whatever I fucking want on my thing. I could do whatever I wanted to look as advantageous as possible. I had a lot of chips in my bag, basically, to pull out in this situation that made it so easy. And I felt really bad during that time because that was really hard. Yeah. I think it worked out how it was supposed to, but holy shit.
I love where I'm living. Everything worked out, but I had to be aggressive about it. And I had to tell this landlord no. One of the landlords, too, when I was being rejected, was like...
it's like we're laughing about it. It was horrible. This was the worst. Every time I'm like, I'm so excited for you. And she's like...
I got rejected.
I was like, what the fuck is happening? It was so horrible.
One of them literally said, I don't think you understand how much more expensive Chicago is than St. Louis. And I saw red because I was like, I am good with my finances. Like, do you think that I'm like 12 years old?
They kind of acted like you were like stupid or you didn't know what you were getting yourself into. And I'm like, guys, Lexi met every criteria on all. It was crazy. And then I was confused. And I think what also was really hard is I was confused because I'm like, this doesn't make any sense because again, I've purchased homes, which is that's hard. Like apartments shouldn't be this hard. And because it was so easy for me, I was like, it's going to be easy for you. And when it wasn't, I was like confused. Yeah. And then I was mad because I was like, what the fuck is happening? There's so many moving parts to that now that I look back because I was like, I feel like I expressed frustration on behalf of you. Mm-hmm. That sucked. That was just sucko.
One, I think throughout the whole move, I cried twice. And the first one was when I got my first apartment rejection. I was like, because I got my heart set on it and I was like, I applied and I was like, wow, I have a home. Everything's like I applied, so I'm gonna live there. And then I got rejected and I cried then. That was my...
To give you guys context too, Lexi decided she was gonna move well before this. I decided immediately. I had my apartment in mid-June. Lexi got her apartment the last week of July. She knew she was moving for 5 months. I knew I'd been moving for a week. Like, that sucked. Yeah. Because it was amazing for me, but it sucked because I selfishly was like, please get your apartment locked down. Because also we were very lucky that the unit we chose, someone was in it through August, which meant someone was in it through July. So we could get it early for August, whereas you were working with people were getting out in the mid part of the month. Like you couldn't do that. It didn't work out that way. Guys, that was one of the first times where I was like, Lexi hates me. This just sucks, whatever. And it's not because Lexi said anything. I just really felt bad because that was really sucky.
But it wasn't your fault. It wasn't my fault. It
just was what it was.
Was what it was.
And then we got through that. Yeah. And then it was basically movie. So I don't really remember much of August. Lexi and I have talked about the fact that August was like really difficult. You were very calm in August, surprisingly. I was not. August was hard. So we get this timeline moved up. And then the thing that was the hardest for me that I don't think I realized was hard until after, Brendan had to be down for the mid part of August. So we had to come down because I decided that I didn't want to do, not like long distance, but if Brendan and I were just two people, it'd be different. The hardest thing about the move was the dog because things that I wanted to do, I could not do because it was not the best thing for the dog. Brendan has a job right now where he has an hour commute. I'm giving him so much detail. Hour commute. So when he has to be at work at 8:30, he has to leave here at 7, which means that when he gets off at 7 at night, he comes home at 8:30. So the dog cannot be let, Winnie the dog cannot be left for 13 hours a day. So I would have loved to stay in St. Louis, had Brendan come here, and then me continue packing. I did not want to be alone with Winnie for 3 weeks and then move her. So we both decided, again, the dog created so much additional. It did. Like, we had to work around this dog. If we didn't have the dog, it would have been a very different month. So, which this is Brendan's dog, but fine. So we decided to move in the second week of August, and then we basically were going to be in Chicago instead of being able to pack and do all that. So I had to then get the business going, do all the things, move to Chicago, come back to move the house. So my house had to be packed by the second week of August, but yet it just sat there empty. God, I'm so glad I was not robbed for 3 weeks for me to then come back. So all my friends I was going to see in August, I didn't get to see. I couldn't really unpack much because we didn't have anything here. So I was just here, stressed about my home being finalized, stressed about the fact that it was empty for 3 weeks, stressed about the fact that I didn't have anything and then had to order shit here, stressed about the fact that I moved so quickly on my friends. And then I had to come back for 24 hours to prep the house and then move the house. And then had to deal with the moving part of that all by myself because Brendan was here working. You had, again, not saying it was easier, but at least like all in once, like you moved all at once. So anyway, I could go through like all the details of the actual move. Lexi and I just realized we've been talking for an hour. We could talk about this entire fucking clusterfuck of the last couple months. It's been amazing, but Lexi had a moving thing. She had to go back and forth to St. Louis 4 times. Her weekend, my movers came 6 hours late. It's kind of been a little bit crazy, like getting here. I think moving in general, everyone keeps telling me moving is hard. What's funny is you would know that better than me because I've only moved twice and they were like upgrading into homes and they were like 10 minutes away. So it was like quite easy. I think I've had easy moves, but I think in general, like both of us came to Chicago kind of for similar reasons, kind of for different reasons. We had very different platters of situations coming into Chicago, but are you happy you moved?
I'm really happy. I think there is, of course, a transition. There's a period of feeling dysregulated, of like my home isn't my home, everything's different, and like building this new life. Like some nights feels lonely and some nights feels really exciting. I'm lucky that I have some friends here. I have a foundation for a community. I've been joining like events and volunteer
Lexi's so good. She does things. She's so good. I need to do things.
I'm trying.
I walked to coffee by myself.
Oh, I'm proud of you.
That's like going to breakfast by myself, but like
that's good. Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Yeah, I've been doing some volunteer stuff, like trying to build new relationships at a speed that like works for me. I'm trying not to like overwhelm myself or push myself too much, and really like give myself grace in building this new life. Like we haven't been here that long. It's been
month and a half.
So I think that I'm gonna really like grow to like it even more than I do now. But I love my neighborhood. I love my space. I'm really excited to see what this chapter brings, and I'm giving myself full permission to like, maybe I'll be here a year, maybe I'll be here forever, but I'm just gonna take it day by day and like follow my intuition and do what feels right for me, and just...
I will not be moving in a year. I can be miserable, and this ass will be sitting here on this couch for at least 2 years. Brennan and I are pretty committed to trying to be physically in this building, prayers, for 3 years is the goal, with the idea that then at that point we might be doing like house together or settling somewhere, because I think this was more of like an adventure stage for us versus like a tested out. I was like, I want to do like an adventure season. So this is our adventure season. So I'm giving 3 years to the adventure season and kind of figuring out. I feel like August was like a lot of heaviness. September was a lot of like trying to figure out what I was feeling, processing, navigating the exit of St. Louis, the entry of Chicago, getting the apartment good. October is like settling, like structure month, I think, for me.
Routine.
Almost everything in the apartment is here, thank freaking God. I'm very big about my space, so that was really hard. We didn't move a lot of stuff here, so like we had to get a lot of new stuff. That was also, I probably could have done better on that, but that's fine. So yeah, I think that October will be the month where I'm like, everything in the apartment will get here. Our place will look nice. Like, I think we're going to start to feel settled. But yeah, it's been like a whirlwind. I did not think that we'd both be here.
Are you happy you're here?
I am happy I'm here. I think I I think I needed this more than I wanted it, but I don't think I realized how much I needed it until I got here. And I'm excited to try to elevate the way that I show up in my life, am present in my life, invest in people. Like, I think this will be a really good, interesting chapter. And honestly, as much as I'm also happy that I'm happy, Brendan is really happy. And it's the best thing in the world to see people that you love be so happy. And my countryman is currently out fishing while we're recording this episode. And
He's turned into a city boy.
he is. He loves it. He's so happy. I think every time I'm struggling, he's like, we're going to figure this out together. And I think that this will be a really good challenge for our relationship. I always say, like, if you want to teach a kid to swim, throw him in the pool. And I feel like this was Brendan and I being thrown into the pool. No, I am. I really am. That's how I learned to swim. So figure it out, kids. Don't take my advice. Oh my God, I'm gonna get sued for this episode. But I'm really happy, and I think that this is gonna change the way that I just live on a day-to-day basis. So stay tuned on more Chicago info adventures and behind the scene takes. But yeah,
I'll be back for another episode in time.
You heard it here, guys. She'll be back.